Good night, good night, good night. Blessed evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the All Over It podcast, where we uncovering it all. Yeah. Today's episode 17. Today, episode 17 on August 25th, 2025. God bless. Today, we have a good one in store. I don't know if you could tell the excitement I have, but yeah. Big things happening, big things popping. Yeah. Today we're gonna have our first interview on the All Over It podcast. First interview, yeah, and it's a good one. Yeah, we have a good story here in store for you, and yeah, real stories from real people. Like they say, real people do real things, and I are showing you real things. You're spreading the knowledge, spreading the wealth. Yeah. Good night, good night. Good night, Miss Marie. Uh-huh. Welcome. Welcome to everybody watching, everybody joining, everybody listening. However you're here, I appreciate you. Love, welcome. Like I always say, that's how we do shoutouts, but if you don't send a comment in the chat, I ain't gonna know who they are. So send a comment, I'll shout you out, big you up a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, though. Thank you, as usual. I appreciate you for joining because wow, without you, it's no all over it podcast. We here, we growing and just elevating, climbing the steps, climbing the ladder. Soon it gonna be an elevator and then spaceship just taking off directly up. Yeah. Good night, Oliver Williams Senior. Yeah. They gonna swear I hear interviewing Oliver Senior just now. Woo! Boyero. Boyero. Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for joining. Like I say, it's love alone. Thank you for the support and yeah, continue supporting. I appreciate it. Don't think it goes unseen or unheard. And yeah, if you like the content, share it, tell a friend, like, subscribe on my YouTube. Trying to get my YouTube to 1,000 subscribers, so show love, spread love, and yeah, that's how we doing. But yeah, today we elevating interview, big things, big things happening. So today I have a guest speaker, guest presenter coming on by the name of Josias Williams, as you saw in the flyer. For those who don't know, he's actually my uncle. Yeah, my blood uncle, my father's brother. So, yeah, close. Hey, Josie. Nice to see you. Nice to see you in the chat. Blessings. Thanks for joining. Appreciate the support. Hope all is well. But yeah, today I ain't really gonna do no motivational message. I can just get right into it. But as a little motivation, I'll share this quote that I got from one of my Toastmasters messages. The contributor is unknown, but the quote says, "Great leaders don't tell you what to do; they show you how it's done." And I had loved that very much. I feel like it resonated very deeply with me because, yeah, hey man, I just show you. Like my father would say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Yeah, I ain't afraid of whatever. But yeah, we gonna get into it. I going to bring Josias on here now, and we gonna get right into things because yeah, real people do real things, and we ain't here to waste nobody time. So help me welcome Josias Williams to All Over It podcast. First interview on the All Over It podcast. I need to get like a little soundboard to get like applause and claps. Woo! Yeah. But yeah, big things, big things, big things. Appreciate you for coming on. And yeah, we can get right into things. So yeah, like I say, this is Josias Williams, my uncle, and today we here to talk all about dividends. And you want me bring up the slides one time, or you want to give like a little introduction first? You talk to me. Introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I will roll that into it. So yeah, you bring up the first slide, and then I'll as we go along, I'll add more information.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I'm also going to track it on my end here, so you may see me periodically looking to my right because I'm also going to scroll the slides as we go along. So you bring up the first one so your audience can see what it is I'm going to be starting out with. So thanks for inviting me. I've been following your podcast since the first day it got started, and I can slowly see the progression and the improvement. So thanks for having me. And we'll start out. This first slide, that's a picture of me, by the way, and in the background is the city of Venice, Italy. So what you're looking at is one of the canals, and on the left side of the screen, you can see basically the buildings and such of Venice, Italy. And the reason why I put that on there, because in subsequent slides, you're going to see why that's important. So starting out with, DIY investing is basically do-it-yourself investing. And listed on here, you see my income sources. So I get income from my Canada pension. I get soon to be getting income from old age security. I just turned 65 last month. I also get a company pension. I used to work for TD Bank before I retired. And then the important topic that we're going to be discussing tonight are dividend investing, and the four accounts you see there: Canadian dollar account, US dollar account, TFSA, which is a tax-free saving account, and RRSP, which is the registered retirement savings plan. The last two are registered accounts. I have to register those with the government, and they track what you're allowed to hold within those investments. So the next one down, you can see I have one there.
Before you continue, let me just chime in there. So like how you mentioned, we're going to dive into these points that you mentioned, these income sources, and how you DIY investing, which is do it yourself. That's what we're here really to talk about. The fact that he is doing it himself. That's the key thing, and we're going to get into his story. Of course, we're going to start with his background and all of these good stuff, but that's the real gist of today's episode, the DIY aspect of this. As you see, it says on this first slide, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You any of us could do it. It just is a skill that needs to be built. And before we also dive any real further, for those who are not really so familiar with the terminology dividends, I just wanted to share this quick definition. So dividends is a sum of money paid regularly, typically quarterly. For me, I don't look for monthly payouts by a company to its shareholders out of its profits or reserve. So bottom line, when you invest into certain companies, they, at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, which is every 3 months, take some of their money out of their profits to pay you for just investing, to say like, hey, thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Josias. Thank you, Josie, for investing in me and believing in my vision. So I just wanted to throw that in there before we continue. So yeah, like you said, next slide is background and education. So let's dive into it. I see you talk about some of your college degrees, education in Canada, born in St. Martin. Yeah, let me dive more deeper into that.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I was born in Phillipsburg, St. Martin, and grew up in middle region area of St. Martin. So those who live on the island would immediately recognize those areas of the island. When I graduated from Milton Peters College, I wanted to further my education, but at the time, the highest level you can get to in St. Martin was Marvel. And once I graduated there, then I wanted to continue on. I had the option to go to Trinidad and Tobago to continue my studies, or to go to the Netherlands, Holland, basically.
Yeah.
I chose a third option because my father at the time was living in Canada. So I wrote to him and we exchanged communication back and forth. And he sponsored me to move to Canada, where I'm currently talking to you from, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So in 1980, after completing all the necessary requirements, I got on a plane and moved to Toronto. My initial thought was come to Toronto, Canada, get my education, back to St. Martin. Didn't turn out that way, or didn't continue that way. As you'll know, in life, there's no straight line. You start out at point A, and then you sort of zigzag here and there and everywhere before you get to the final destination. So 1980, January, middle of winter, I landed in Toronto and got all my documents translated from Dutch into English. And then they slotted me into the education system here in Toronto. I had to start in high school, so I did my high school, graduated there. One of the quirky things that Ontario had, which the other provinces in Canada did not have at the time, was in order to go to university, you had to complete grade 13. All the other provinces, you went up to grade 12, graduated, and then went to university. So I did all that. And then when it was time to continue my education, I chose to go to Centennial College, which is what you see there. I got a student loan and a grant to pay my tuition and such. And then I started at Centennial College. That also didn't take a straight line. There were some detours along the way. But in the end, I graduated there with a diploma in computer systems technology, which is basically hardware and software. So I could program or repair computers. I went back to St. Martin to try and get a job there, and I had something lined up with the government, but then, as you know, with governments, they flip pans, and that went by the wayside. So I came back to Canada, and I ended up getting a job with TD Bank, which is Toronto Dominion Bank. It's the second largest bank in Canada, and I believe the 10th largest in North America. So prior to starting with TD Bank, all my education was, I went to school full-time, I worked part-time and such. When I started with TD Bank, I went to work full-time, but I did my education part-time. So it was a complete flip of what I was doing. And over the years, I worked through and earned a Bachelor of Commerce degree in Information Systems Technology. And that degree was from a university called Ryerson. They changed the name over the years to, now it's called Toronto Metropolitan University. During the time I was at TD Bank, I should sort of back up a bit. When I first started with TD Bank in September 1988, they put a whole bunch of documents in front of me. One was to buy TD shares, and you'll see why that's important later on. Another was to invest in a company, the TD company pension. And the third was profit sharing. So with the pension and the profit sharing, for every dollar I put in, the bank matched it by 50 cents. So every month, the bank would basically take money out of my account. They would buy TD shares, they would invest in the profit sharing, and they would invest in the TD company pension. In looking around within the bank.
Before you continue, just to give a quick explanation on what you just say with the breakdown that you just mentioned. So, for example, if let me say they took out 100 out of your check, you say they match it $1 to 50 cents. So they took out 100, they'll also match that 50. So you'll basically get like 150 invested, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the reason why I decided to do the degree, the Bachelor of Commerce, was all the jobs I was looking at, they all had a requirement of minimum Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Science, whatever. That was the reason why I went back to school part-time. By the time I finished that and I started looking internally again for jobs, they all said minimum master's degree. So back to school, earned a master's in business, and graduated from Athabasca University. So if we could move to the next slide.
Yeah, employment history.
So as I mentioned, so I got the job with TD Bank in September '88. And as I mentioned, those three accounts, I bought shares in TD. I invested in the profit sharing for the company and the company pension. So every pay period, they would take money out and basically buy into those. So the first job position was in document processing. So we processed all of the TD Bank checks and other payment that all of the branches right across Canada handled. So they came into a central location here in Toronto where I worked. We did all the sorting, and then all the checks went back to all the branches right across Canada the following day. And when I started, I was working 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of evenings, 2 weeks of midnights on a rotating basis. And keep in mind, remember I said I was going to school part-time?
Yep.
Yes. During those rotations, I was taking time out and going to school in order to earn my Bachelor of Commerce degree and my master's degree subsequently later on. The very first few years, I earned a certificate in telecommunication management, which was crucial to the next position I moved to within the bank, because we dealt with all of the telecommunications for the bank worldwide. So it didn't matter where TD Bank had an office in the world, everything was funneled into the central location here in Toronto, and I supported all that, myself and other team members. So I had a good grasp of how computers connected and how they talked and all that stuff on a global scale.
That's a big job, though.
Yeah, very important, because I know where the main cutoff switch is to turn everything off. They trusted us to handle all that, and it was a big job, but you handle it in bite size in order to get a good understanding fundamentally of the whole thing. Yeah. And then prior to leaving the bank in 2015, my job position was in application and information support. This was really important because when I started in the area, I was supporting an application called Web Broker, which is what TD Bank clients use to buy and sell stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. That was important, as you can see later on, toward my understanding of how to do DIY investing. So once I started that position, I had 6 months in order to complete a course on how the Toronto Stock Exchange and basically any stock market worked, anywhere in the world. And the requirement was you pass, you continue with a job, you fail, go look for a job somewhere else. I passed, continued with my job. And then over the years, I was with the bank 27 years. And during that entire 27 years, every single month, I never even saw it. I got a statement every 3 months or so. They bought TD Bank shares. When the dividend got distributed, those were reinvested. So in the 27 years I was with the bank, my TD shares naturally continue to grow and escalate, and that's where the snowball effect or compounding comes into play.
Compound interest. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
also
they say,
with the profit sharing, right, and the TD pension. Now, those three I didn't control. All I do was every pay period, they took money out, invested in those. Happy that they did because I didn't have to worry about it. I was working full time, going to school part time, so I didn't have time to worry about where to put money and allocate money and all that. So this sort of ties into what happens with another slide that's going to come up, that where I'm going to be talking about a financial planner. So while I was with TD and doing all this, I'm busy. I don't have time to focus on anything, investing, all that. So I hired a financial planner, and I'm going to talk about that later on. But that was the reason, because I had no time to focus on that. So I hired someone else to worry about that aspect of it, grow my portfolio. And so subsequently, when I retired, I would have enough money to do what I wanted to do. So the lower part of the slide where it talks about self-employment and retirement. So October rolls around, and I got a letter from Human Resources
October 2015.
2015, correct? Yes. In that letter, it said, your job has been made redundant. You have two options. You can find another job within the bank, or you can take a package and basically, leave and go find a job somewhere else.
Like an early retirement, basically.
Yeah. So over the years, I've been tracking what's going on with my pension and all that stuff. And one of the things I noticed was an exit strategy I could use that involved my TD pension. So I chose a third option. Rather than the two they gave me, I chose a third one, which was to take early retirement, collect my pension, and leave the bank. So I took the package they gave me, and I called up the brokerage company and said, okay, I no longer want to reinvest the dividends from my TD shares, pay them out to me as dividend. And that's where I got started. The 4 accounts I had in my portfolio at the time was the 2 registered ones. Those are the ones I mentioned that I registered with Canada Pension, with the CRA, which is the Canada Revenue Agency. And it's the TFSA, which in the US, it's called a Roth IRA. The other one is a RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan. And in the US, they refer to that as a 401k. The other 2 that you see lower there are not registered, which means anything that's earned and stuff like that, I have to declare on my taxes. So if I make a profit, I declare capital gains. If I got dividends, I declare dividends, and etc. So those were I first started out with a Canadian dollar account. And then over the years, I realized I go a lot to the US. I go a lot to St. Martin. I need US dollars. So I opened a US dollar account. And all the transactions within that account are in US dollars. So when it comes time to go to St. Martin, I can take money out, don't have to pay exchange fee and all that stuff. So those are the 4 accounts, and those are the ones I'm going to focus on because they involve the DIY investing aspect of what I'm discussing tonight. So
okay, so before we move on, just a few things I want to point out or mention based on what you say is, firstly, you say basically your employer, your boss come to you one day out of the blue and just say, hey, we don't need you no more. You got to figure out what you're going to do, whether you're going to take another position in the company or if you're going to take a severance. That's basically what you say there, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Imagine that. Job today, none tomorrow. I know that feeling. I know that feeling. And I just wanted to point out because some people, so hooked to their job and they feel like everything is fine and dandy, but you have to always set up yourself, always have an emergency fund, a nest egg, always have a backup, and you mentioned the 4 accounts. So basically you're saying before I get to that, let me ask you this. So just to clarify, you've been self-employed or DIY investing since December 2015. So let's say for the past about 10 years, correct?
Yeah, 10 years actually this year.
Yes, doing it yourself,
Yes,
all by yourself. Good.
solo.
And like you mentioned here, you have some accounts that registered, 2 accounts namely, and 2 that's not registered, non-registered with, let me say, the governmental apparatus. Correct?
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yes. I would like for you to elaborate a little more on that,
And
or
yeah,
would you
sure,
rather
okay.
later down in the next slides?
Okay. So what it basically means by registered is you open those accounts, and then I do all my business with TD Bank. TD Bank then sends the necessary documentation to the Canada Revenue Agency, which in the US would be the IRS.
Yeah, like the tax
and right,
department.
and they register TFSA, and basically the government dictates how much you're allowed to put into that account annually. So in December of this year, they're going to tell me for your TFSA, you're allowed to put so many dollars. For 2025, so in the December 2024, I know they notify everyone across Canada, you're allowed to put 7,000 maximum into this account for 2025. If you put more than that, there's a severe penalty. There's a 1% interest that they charge on the amount that's over monthly until you withdraw that amount. So similarly with the RSP, because I had a company pension, the CRA, the revenue agency, said you're allowed to put X number of dollars into your RSP account because you're also contributing to your TD pension. So every year the government will say, this is how much you can contribute. And every year I would put the maximum allowed in and then reinvest those funds as I went along. So I did that for the 27 years that I was with the bank. The non-registered one now it's not registered with the government, but the way the government finds out about it is because every time you buy, sell, trade, you do any activity in that account, you get a tax slip, which you then file with your income tax in April the following year. And then the government says, oh, well, you made so much money, you have to pay so much in taxes, or you made so little, you can get money back. So that's the difference between the registered and the non-registered.
Okay. Understood. Well, thank you for that elaboration. Would you like to continue now?
Yeah, let's move on. So the next slide
is a good one.
This one
is some of these things I touched on a few episodes ago. I like this
right,
one.
And I followed you with those. Without this, what we're talking about today would be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because in all the years I went to school, there were no courses that taught financial literacy. None. I
want to say a point on that. I just say that, in my opinion, financial literacy and things like taxes, managing your money, and these things should be like general knowledge, should be mandatory in schooling and things from young age. But it's unfortunate that is not the case. But I agree with you. It is important.
Right. So to build on this, so I did high school here. I did my college, my MBA, my bachelor, etc. Nowhere in there did I was able to go and take a course that taught me how to buy and sell stock, to invest, how to manage my money, how to avoid going deep in debt and stuff like that. All that encompasses financial literacy. So in 2015, when I left,
I would like to throw in one more point right there, since you say that, if you don't mind. Like you say that, in my opinion, I feel like I learned the most of my money management skills from this book here at the top, the first book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I could say this one too, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was the first one I read. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You see it? Yeah, I got it right there too. I got a pile. But yeah, like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad first, and it really was a mindset shift. But when I read Richest Man in Babylon, it really like open your mind to like good practices and principles to manage your money better and get out of debt and just live a more better financial life. But anyways, enough about me. Take it away.
Okay, so yeah, so the very first, the list I have there is in no particular order, so it's not like first to last or whatever. This is a
Yeah.
random, and these are just a few of the books I've read over the years. So in 2015, when I left the bank, I had a certain amount of money in my RSP, in my TD pension, the TD shares, but I knew if I just started withdrawing money to live on it, eventually that's going to go to zero, because
Yep.
every time you withdraw, it gets less and less and less. So I need to find a way in order for what I had to continue to grow it, as well as be able for it to then fund my lifestyle. And you're going to see in the other slides what it is and how I did.
Living.
I like traveling, and you're going to see some of the stuff later on I'm going to mention. So these books that I started reading, and like I said, The Richest Man in Babylon, that when I read that, it was basically like reading my life story, because it taught me about debt management. One of the things I had to do as an employee of the bank is make sure I didn't go into crazy amounts of debt and stuff like that, because it looks bad on the bank if you have an employee who is like bankrupt. And then you can say, well, I put all my money in the bank. I don't want this person managing my money or being anywhere near my money. So that was a key requirement as an employee of the bank. And by the way, during the 27 years, there was not a year that went by that the bank didn't send me on some course. Or all 27 years I was taking, in addition to what I was doing, my part-time studies to earn my degree. So I had a very, very, very full load, if you will, working full-time, going to school part-time, taking all these courses in addition to part of my job requirement.
No, but
So when I left,
it helps though. I have to
right,
say it really helps, because I share that sentiment too. I spend a lot of time trying to educate myself in a lot of different ways, and I could say see the growth, and I do believe in like lifelong learning. But
yes,
these things really help you elevate yourself mentally, but also everything around you as well.
yeah. And then in addition to those books, the last two ones, the ones on lower down that said TD Direct Investing and TD Asset Management. TD Direct Investing, it's a podcast that's done by a division of the bank, and it talks about everything to do with the stock market. It's all videos. They teach you about the courses that are the application that you use for trading. They also cover things like what's happening with the, in the world in general, like the stuff with the U.S. and the tariffs and all that. So they cover all of that. So they have hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I've watched them all in order to get my mindset into the thinking of no longer job, but doing this myself and using the knowledge I have to control my future earnings, my future investments and such. So that's where I wanted to insert this here with the mindset. Mindset is extremely important, because if you have a job mindset, it's completely different from a investing mindset. The two don't overlap. You're either focusing on getting another job when you lose the one you have, or moving further up in the company, or stuff like that. And the other aspect, the investing and all that, that is a completely different can of worms. So these types of books help to orient your mindset into thinking focusing more on the investing, which as one of your podcasts covered was real estate investing. That you can't just say, well, I'm going to buy something, and you have to know exactly what it is you're doing. So you have to have that mindset related to investing in real estate, related to investing in the stock market, etc. So that's where these books and the video and stuff comes into play for me, because I spent 2 years just diving deep into all that stuff in order to educate myself. Because like I said, I went to university, I did my degrees, and there was nothing that told me anything like that. I learned accounting, I learned finance, I learned stuff like that, but it didn't taught me anything about financial literacy. I had to do that all on my own.
Yeah, trust me, I feel you. And I'll say it is a necessary shift, like how you say, from 9 to 5 job mentality to investor mentality. It's different. It's like two different, like north and south pole, but it's a necessary shift to get over there. And like these things help you see things different and analyze things different, and trust me, it really opens your mind and help you really get to that level that you want to reach. So like how you mentioned, I'll just touch on some of the books that you have here. Like how I talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad, you also have Cash Flow Quadrant, which I didn't read that one. That's the second one in the series, but I read the third one, Guide to Investing. But Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and those series are great books to get started into the investing journey. And they even have like ones for children, like more oriented for younger population and so on. Also, you have this book that you mentioned here, Start With Why, from Simon Sinek, and also The Millionaire Next Door, Thomas J. Stanley. These is 2 books. Well, no, The Millionaire Next Door I spoke about, but I also have the Start With Why. You also provided those 2 to me, so I appreciate those, But yeah, even like how you talk about The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Really, really, really good list here. And of course, I'll be sharing this content and these slides later in the podcast in the description after the podcast ends. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say on this slide, or if you want to move forward.
No, because I don't want to go too deep in any of those books. Your audience could source those books. If they don't want to buy the book, they can actually, go on ChatGPT and ask the ChatGPT to give them a synopsis of those books, and it'll give you a very good, outline of the book and what each chapter talk about. I prefer, me personally, and I'm old school, I prefer having the physical book in my hand. I don't care for like a Kindle book or anything like that. I want the physical book because I want to be able to flip from chapter 1 to 10 instantly and back and forth on that, in order to be able to source
find something that you want.
Right. So I like the physical book. I have a library of several hundred books that I can reference, and I keep adding to the list every time I come across something that I think is of value to me. I go on Amazon and I buy the book, have them delivered to me. So my library is growing, basically.
Right, I feel you. I think the Think and Grow Rich is a good one. You know what? I think should have been on this list too. One I had to add to mine, that Some Days Today. That one there, that good mindset.
Yeah, that's in my library. But like I said, this is just a small list of books that I've. I don't know exactly. I never counted how many I have, but I have dozens and dozens of books, not just of that stuff, but of different ones. So this is the turning point now.
Yes, so, the meat of the matter.
Right. So prior to 2015, from 88 to 2015, all my investing was done. Basically, they take the money out, they invest in those 3 accounts that I mentioned. The TD shares, they bought TD shares, the dividend bought more TD shares, etc. The profit sharing, that bought TD shares as well as mutual funds, and then the TD pension. Those three, hands off for me. I never touched any of them. It was done all in the background. I basically just got a statement saying, this is how much your pension is. This is how many TD shares you own. This is how much your profit sharing. Didn't touch any of it. So leading up to, well, I didn't know I'd be terminated in 2015 or leave the bank. So I hired a financial planner to manage all that, because remember I said I was going to school part-time, working full-time, plus doing all these courses that the bank required me to do. I don't have any time to do any of that investing stuff. So I hired a financial planner. And the guy I hired, he was all right. I was happy with him. But one of the requirements of his job was he had to bring in new money into the bank. I don't know whether it was monthly or annually. And if he didn't do that, then he had no more job, which unfortunately happened for him. So he moved to another company, and the bank, I don't know who in the bank, but in their great wisdom, they moved my portfolio to another financial planner. Not someone I chose personally, but someone they designated to handle my account. So I met with a guy, I don't remember exactly what year my funds were transferred to him. But in 2015, I believe April, I met with him and we went over, what was going on with the account and stuff like that.
And he gave a report. Yeah,
I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't too happy, because one of the things I noticed, they kept cash in my account. And I don't understand why they did that. I figured they would invest everything. But then I found out subsequently, every month, without fail, they took out their fees, which understandable. They manage my account, they get paid. But one of the things I did not like was when those funds got down to a certain amount, they did a bunch of transactions to put more money, cash money, into the account so they could withdraw their fees.
So basically, like they sell some of your investments so they could be with their fees.
Exactly. I figured they would come to me and say, okay, well, these are our fees. If you want to contribute more money so your investments can continue to grow. They didn't do that. They just went into because they were managing my funds.
Yeah.
They just went in, did a bunch of trades to generate cash. The cash sit there, they pull out their fee. And then at the end of the year, I got a statement that I had to file my income tax. So I was paying tax and losing money on the fee side. So
yeah, can you tell me that? I think you tell me that one of the times when you went, he was giving you a return of like 0.9 or
yeah. I was just going to get to that. So that was April. I met with him. In October, when I got my letter as well, I met with him and he said, your portfolio for last year, 2015 or 2014, sorry, generated 0.1%, 0.9%, less than 1%. My whole portfolio for the whole year generated less than 1%. That means I'm losing money.
He's doing horrible. S&P 500 growing at least by 12% every year.
Right. Yeah. So naturally, I wasn't happy with that. So when I left the bank, I said, okay, I'm going to do early retirement. I'm going to take my pension because I could take it at that time. I could take it early. I didn't get the maximum you can get because the longer you delay taking it, the more you get. I didn't care about delaying it. I just wanted the funds. So at the same time, I filled out the necessary documentation and I withdrew. I took all the money back. I pulled all the money back from the guy. At that point now, I'm sitting there with these funds, and that's when I had to decide I have to do this DIY investing on my own. So when I got the severance, one of the things I asked them to do was split it in half, give me half in 2016, and give me the balance in 2017. So half of it went into my account in end of January 2016, and the other half went into my account in 2017. So during 2016, well, from the time I left the bank in December, so 2016 2017, that's when all those books and videos and all that stuff come into play, because I had to get up to speed now on managing my own money and doing my own investing and such. And early on, because I worked in the banking industry, I was familiar with all the banks in Canada, because at some point in time we had to deal with somebody from one of the other banks or what have you. So I started out that my first thing was buy bank stocks. They're blue chip. You know, the banks in Canada have been around for over 100 years. They pay a consistent dividend quarterly. So that's what I did. And then once the shares that I had went up to a certain amount, I saw a profit. I sold them, took the profit out. But I couldn't keep doing that. That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Because while doing that, I also invested in some dogs, because I put the money in, it went up for a little bit, and then it tanked. So rather than lose the whole thing, I would sell at a loss. And I said, well, there's no way in the world I can do that. I'd have to go back and get another job, which is I didn't want to do. As you can see why in a subsequent slide. So I figured I need to get some type of investment that pays me monthly. Quarterly is okay, but I have to wait 3 months before I get the funds. So the reason for the monthly was because most of my bills came monthly. I need to pay my phone bill, my any basically bill that comes due monthly.
Yeah.
Well, how do I do that if I'm getting investments quarterly? So that's also part of the mindset, because now I have to figure out, yes, it's good if you invest in bank stocks, but first I thought I would ladder it. I would invest in a company that paid dividends, say January, then one that paid dividend in February, etc. Because then every quarter, the cycle repeats. But I couldn't find anything that slotted into that. And
I see some people do that strategy. Yeah. Like they invest in a bunch of different companies, and it's like first month,
right?
They get some, second month they get some. So
Yes.
it's like it's quarterly, but it just falls
with a cycle,
the right time,
right?
That every month you're getting some. Yeah.
So I did that for a little while, but it didn't align, because the banks in Canada pretty much pay all of their dividend around the same time each quarter. Yeah. So it didn't work out. Then I looked at ETFs, exchange traded funds, and all those were either they didn't pay a dividend, they just keep reinvesting it, or if they paid a dividend, it was again quarterly. That didn't fit. Finally, after a long search, I found some that paid monthly dividend. So I focused on those, and then slowly built up the amount of shares I had. I didn't go all in all at once, because I wasn't sure how risky they were. So slowly, between 2016 and 2017, it was like a gradual, I built it up more and more and more and more. And then once I get to feel more comfortable with it, then I would increase more shares. And mind you, I'm still getting the dividends from the TD, my TD shares. I'm getting my TD pension. So, and the settlement. So 2016, I had a bit of a cushion, and similarly in 2017. But then when 2018 rolled around, now, those strings are cut, because my severance only lasted 2016 and 2017. And then I dove deeper into more research, more watching videos, more learning. And move to the next slide.
For sure, it'll be a learning process. Before we go to the next slide, though, I gotta say, first of all, big up my boy Kiran there watching. You don't know. And you mentioned about the financial planner. It sounded like he was using you like a piggy bank, man. Like, well, he just had you to pay his fees.
No. Well, that's how I looked at it. But I in reality, I don't. He was doing, I guess, the best he could, because remember the stock market and stuff. It doesn't go in a straight line up. It goes up in when COVID hit, I mean, the stock market just took a dive. So if you
Yeah.
had mutual funds, your mutual funds were sucking dirt. I didn't have any mutual funds because when I took the money back from him, it was all in mutual funds. I sold up gradually and I moved them all into ETFs and other stocks and stuff like that. So when 2020 rolled around, when COVID hit, I had no ETFs or no mutual funds. So my portfolio, it did go down, but not as rapidly as if I would have been invested in mutual funds or such. So I was okay, relatively speaking, compared to some others. I did meet with another financial planner in another company, and he proposed that I liquidate everything and put everything in mutual funds. And thank goodness I never listened to that advice, because today I'd be searching for a job somewhere.
Another thing you gotta know, just like you say, education, learning, knowledge is powerful itself. But yeah, like you say, this is your story. This is what got you into doing it yourself. And like you say, the main reason, bills. Every month we got bills, maybe sometimes more than every month. People's always
Those never
calling
go
you
away.
saying, yeah, you got money for them, you check. So we gotta find ways to generate the income faster than the bills. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, one thing I gotta say though, which is a valid point that you made, that okay, maybe you had a bad experience with that financial planner, but some financial planners do well. That was just a bad experience. And
yeah, don't get
on
me
that
wrong.
note,
Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, because I have friends who swear by their financial planner. Their financial planner do terrific job with their managing their money. I guess I was unfortunate. The one I had wasn't any good, and I wasn't willing to risk giving my money to someone else and repeating the process. So I decided DIY investing would be the way I would go.
Well, they have a reason for everything, and now you have the knowledge yourself, which I find is a great thing, because at the end of the day, even if you did or do decide to get another financial planner, you now know the knowledge, you know what to look for, like nobody can come and tell you no lies or anything out of the way, because you know what you're doing as well. You know all about
Right.
it. But yeah, we gonna move on. So dividend sources, we getting into things. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the meat and potatoes of it now. So in my Canadian dollar account, what you see there, the only stock I have, like all of my accounts have ETFs, exchange traded funds, and each one of those exchange traded funds pays me a monthly dividend. TD Bank, the TD one there, that pays quarterly. So every 3 months, January, excuse me, January, April, July, and October every year, religiously, they've never missed a payment. Those 4 times a year, TD Bank pays me a dividend. And then the other ones, like the EBNK, that ETF focuses on all of the major banks in Europe. So what I do with my ETFs is I try and diversify even within the ETFs. So that particular ETF focuses strictly on the European banks, the big ones, just none of the small ones, just the big ones. And that pays me a monthly dividend. The other one you see there's HYLD. That's unique because it's an ETF, but within that ETF, it holds other ETFs.
Okay.
So it's like a nested group of ETFs.
So just before you continue, just to mention for those who following that mightn't be so familiar, ETF is like a group of stocks. So consider like you say, he got TD Bank, which is one specific bank. That bank have shares in the company. But now our ETF is like a group of different shares from different companies. So that ETF might have, let me say, maybe TD Bank, Citibank, Chase, a bunch
Right.
of different ones, Bank of America, or maybe it might be, instead of a bank ETF, it might be maybe real estate ETF, or maybe
Yep.
a hospitality real estate ETF. They got a lot of different ETFs, which is just like thinking like a basket, a group of different companies under one umbrella, let me say, for simple terms. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. So you can look at it like this: when you go to the supermarket and you get one of those baskets
Mm-hmm.
to go shopping, so you go in. Initially, your basket is empty, but as you move around the store, you're adding different things. So when you look in your basket, you have a whole lot of different things. An ETF is like that. ETF is the basket. Within the ETF, you have all these different products. You can get an ETF that focuses just on banks, which is what the EBNK one does. But it don't just focus on any bank. It focuses on the top banks in all of Europe. So it doesn't matter which country, whatever country has a top bank, that ETF holds it. And the beauty with an ETF, I don't have to manage it. All I have to do own the shares.
Yep. It's
The
already diversified. It's already,
yes,
like, instead of
and
putting, like they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
precisely.
This is what I mean. Like, now you spreading it across, so now it ain't just like if TD Bank go down, that all your portfolio down. It's like now you have different
Right.
things in your basket, and now you keep yourself a little more stable.
Yeah, and then so the eBank one focuses on Europe. The very last one you see on the list there, BANK, that
Yeah.
focuses on the Canadian banks, the big Canadian
First.
banks, and the big insurance companies, both of those. The one QQQY, that focuses on science. So Meta, Meta, Google, Apple, Tesla, all of those are bunch grouped within that QQQY. So rather than buying the individual companies, I just buy that ETF. That
Yep.
ETF then buys all of these individual companies. And in order to generate the monthly income, what they do is they write covered calls, which is the options trading. So they have a team of experts that write options against the shares of the company they own. So they own the shares of like Tesla or whatever. So they write covered calls against them. That generates extra income, and that's what they use to pay out the funds monthly. So all of the ones you see listed there, every single one of those pays me a monthly dividend. So in my Canadian dollar account, my US dollar account, my TFSA, and my RSP. And as you can see, the bottom one there, I have 26 different ETFs, all of them paying me a monthly dividend.
Lovely.
Now, I don't know if you want to know numbers surrounding that or not.
I think we really need to go so deep into that.
But I didn't mean
But
individually. I meant like within the account, like what the account generates.
okay. Well, yeah, if you want to elaborate, yeah, sure.
Okay. So I ran the numbers this morning, and my TFSA, it generates a little over 2,100 a month, and then I
So every
reinvest that
month,
amount every month.
from that
Yes.
account, you getting back 2,100. They
Yes.
paying you 2,100.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to point that out. That you gotta
Okay.
pay them. They paying it to you.
Yeah, I own the shares of the ETF, and then the ETF pays me monthly that amount. My RSP,
$2,100. $2,100 a month. That's one from
Yep.
one account. Good. Cool.
my
Continue.
RSP pays $4,700 a month.
$4,700 a month.
Yeah, yes. And then in the US dollar account, that pays me, I converted from US dollars to Canadian dollars, so 1,400 every month.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
And then
1,400 a month.
the big one now is the Canadian dollar account, because I use those funds to fund
You
my
call some
lifestyle
big
district.
numbers already? No, you call some big numbers already, but let me hear you.
So the Canadian dollar account pays me a little over $7,700 a month.
7,700 plus 4,000 something plus 2,000 something plus another 1,000 something.
Yeah, so
Good.
when you add it all up, it pays all of my accounts. The dividend from all of the accounts is a little over 16,000 every month. This is not monthly.
Lovely.
So that's the power of dividend investing. But you have to, what you see there, I customize for me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend other people pick and choose those and try and slot them into what they're doing. Once you
Yeah.
understand what it is you're doing, then customize something specifically for you.
Yep.
For me,
Yep.
I still tweaking those because I actually want to get it up to the point where I was watching a podcast from the TD Direct Investing, and there's one gentleman. He doesn't use ETF; he uses stock. So he has a portfolio of like 15 stocks, and they pay him in dividend. Those 15 stocks that he has in dividend, it pays him $150,000 a year. That's just dividend. Plus he has pension and other things. So that's the power of dividend.
Yo. No, but yeah, I that's amazing. And like you say, you work at this and you build it up over time, and you educate yourself. That was the one of the most biggest things, as you mentioned. You had to
Yes, the
make
mindset.
sure, yes, get your mind in the game, get your mind frame around it. It's like you want to be an NBA player, but you don't know how to bounce the ball, you don't know how to pass the ball,
Yeah,
you never practice a day in your life.
yeah,
No, you gotta practice first before you go out there on a
exactly.
court.
And
And
it's not just practice, it's hours and hours and hours and days and weeks and years.
hey, you gotta put in that work. And that
Yeah.
don't mean you gotta sit down every day for hours straight, but
No.
over time, incrementally, you're going to grow.
Right. So remember, from 2015 to today, 10 years, this is what's happened.
Yep.
And I'm not just sitting on that. Going forward, I'm going to tweak those accounts and invest more and buy different ETF. I'm going to grow that. So it's not going to be static what you see now. A year from now, it'll be different. But again, it comes down to mindset. I'm in that frame of mind now that I feel comfortable maneuvering these things on the stock market. I don't focus on mutual funds. I don't focus on real estate. I just focus on this and growing it.
Yeah. Well, I could say I like the dividends too, even on my journey. And here and there, like I say in one of my episodes, I had a little bit of NVIDIA. I had end up selling off to gain some profit, and some different individual stocks I've been looking into. But yeah, dividends powerful. And like how you talk about the gentleman with 150,000 a year, that's good. And I'll say like this: the ETFs a lot safer because it's diversified, but of course, the individuals does usually pay better.
Yeah, it does. But like I said, in the past 2016, 17, 18, that's what I was doing. And I had one, it paid a nice dividend, and it was involved in renewable energy. So they had wind power farms, those big windmills that generated electricity. And the thing, the first sign of trouble, if you invest in a company, the first sign of trouble if they pay a dividend, if they cut the dividend, that's a red flag.
I hear
that was a red
somebody,
flag in this company.
I hear another gentleman that I listen to podcast, and he said the same thing. As soon as they cut that, I start to look for the exit.
Get out. Because that's what happened with that one. I ended up losing money because they actually ended up going bankrupt. They had an issue with one of their wind power things, and then through lawsuits and what have you, they ended up going out of business. So they were paying a nice dividend, and then for whatever reason, it took a bad turn. And because it was a single stock, you're out the window. If it's an ETF, what the money manager or the fund manager does,
They
they
sell
just
that
remove
again
that one,
next
they
one.
put another one in.
Yep.
I don't have to worry about it.
Yep. But yeah, like you say, live alone. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'll say that the education, I'll go back on that and I'll really hammer on that, because
That is crucial.
Even like how you just say that, me in the stage I at now, I feel confident that I could see things like that and, identify it and say, okay, yeah, this is okay. Now I gotta, because with the knowledge I have now, although I still looking to increase my knowledge on like the fundamental side of the investing, like understanding the fundamentals behind the companies, I still have a good grasp. And even like how you say that, you don't see from time you say, yeah, they stop cutting dividends, I check and buy that in a good time. That's how get that out, because it's like now with the education I've gained, it's like you could see was winners, was losers, and was good investment, bad investment. And a lot of people that are just putting money in the wrong thing. And like
Just
it's like
because
you're
they're not
trying your
in the right
money. Yeah, because you're not in the
mindset.
right mindset. Exactly, because you don't know. You feel, or you're trying to follow somebody else that might know but don't really care about you or what you're trying to do. So rightfully, the best thing is to have your own destiny in your own hands, DIY. Do it yourself.
That takes time. It takes time.
As they say, nothing good comes easy.
There's no shortcut.
Yeah. Facts. But yeah, so we're moving on to the good stuff.
Oh yeah. So this particular side is what I have done and plan to do this year. So in January, I was in St. Martin for 2 weeks. And then in February, I did a 1-week cruise. And actually, one of the ports of call was St. Martin. And then I was in Lauderdale for a week. Then I flew to New Orleans. And I did a couple of cruises out of New Orleans that went into the Western Caribbean. So Mexico and Cayman Islands and Cozumel, stuff like that. In April, I went to Canary Islands. Those are islands off the coast of Africa, but they're owned by Spain. Spent 2 weeks there. And then in early July, I was in Vegas for 1 week. And then late July, I did a cruise up from, from Seattle up to Alaska. And then actually, when I get off this podcast, I'm going to look at packing my suitcase, because Thursday this week, I'm going on a flight over to Barcelona in Spain.
Back on the plane.
A week there and then a week down in Sitges. October, I'm back in St. Martin for a couple of weeks. Then in November to Fort Lauderdale. And then in December, 3 weeks, going to Cologne, Germany, Brussels, Belgium, and Eindhoven in the Netherlands. So with this list that you see here, if I had a job, do you think I could do any of that stuff or all of that stuff? There's no way in the world. Right?
Point.
So,
point.
So, yes, a job is important. But as one of my managers when I worked at TD Bank said, the job is not a destination. It's a journey. Don't look at it as a destination. So if you look at it as a destination, the destination is you get there and you stay.
Some people,
you're on your way.
I'm telling you, some people give their whole life to a job. Some people, they dream of traveling the world, like how you got this list here and some other list here about this year. And they say to themselves, yeah, I want to go here, I want to go there. But then they ain't doing nothing to get them there.
Right.
What they doing? They just staying in the same vicious cycle. At a
that's
job,
all part
they
of
get
mindset.
your paycheck. Good, exactly. So this is the thing. It starts here. When you start get this right, and you see that's why, if you go back in this podcast, in my previous episodes, everything build up, everything growing like a tree now. Because I start with an episode about investing in yourself, talking about educating yourself and doing things. And that episode, I was in Bonilla, and I was talking about how, I educate myself and I try to build myself. And look, now I deal in Bonio. And then I had another episode about investing in your future, starting to put these things in place, you know. Start creating your account. Start with your investment, even if it's a small amount. I started with $14 first in January. Right now, I up past $3,000 in my investment account, and that's one.
Yep.
You check and look, even that Quinn in the comment say, you know, motivation right there. This slide is motivation, because like you say, if you was working a job, if you was stuck in a 9 to 5 mindset, you'd never be able to do this. Okay, granted, I know people, good friends of mine, that they just go walk in, they just work, but they just hang on, like they just catch a lot of trips, they just go on a lot of vacations. I'll give them credit, you know, but still the mental stress that I could imagine they have to take on to deal with all of that, to deal with the job stress, and then still have to go and unwind, you know. So the stress of organizing things, and you know, is a lot, you know. So this here is powerful. It's a powerful slide you share here. And you know, some people might look at it like, yeah, he bragging about all these things, what he doing and thing, but it ain't about that. It's about motivation for you to see, look, he do it and you could do it too. He show you where he come from, what he went through, and where he be now. What I do now. Good night, cuz. Good night to my cousin Jeffrey. Interactive live stream on my interactive live stream here now, all over it podcast. Big up yourself one time. But yeah. I love this. And you see, the different places I never see before. I show places you never see before, and places you probably never even hear of. And we're gonna go to the next slide. You see, past travels. Some places I show you never hear of. I never hear about them. Like,
Oh,
I'll leave you get into it.
1990, I was at the bank. I'm still, because I started in '88.
Yeah, it's in 2015 you left the bank.
So
yeah.
During the time I was at the bank, every long weekend, so
When you got 3
whatever
days,
long,
4-day weekend.
yeah, whatever long holiday weekend, do
Yeah.
a driving trip. So from Toronto, the furthest you can go, and then turn around and come back, because they have to start work, you know, the next business day. So that's where that started out. And between 1990 and 2024, which is last year, those are some of the places I've been to. So I've been pretty much all across Canada.
A lot.
I've been pretty much all across the US, all of, not entirely all of Western Europe. I haven't been to Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, or Andorra. I haven't been to Lithuania, but whatever other country you can think of, I've been there. Some city there. Been all the way down to New Zealand and Australia. I did a couple of cruises out of New Zealand, Auckland, over to Sydney in Australia, with stops along the way, of course, because whenever you're going on a cruise, they stop at different ports. Did a couple of cruises in Asia. One went from Hong Kong, ended in Tokyo, and also did one from Singapore to Bangkok. And then in South America, I did a cruise out of Buenos Aires that went all the way down to Antarctica, of all places.
Antarctica. You was going to look for the South Pole, North Pole. Antarctica. Wow.
With a stop in the Falkland Islands. Years ago, years ago, England and Argentina had a war over the Falkland Islands. And England won, and Argentina lost a bunch of ships and men and what have you. So I've been to the Falkland Islands. One of the things they still have there is a bunch of landmines, because when Argentina took over and then Britain sent their troops to defend it, they put down a whole bunch of landmines. And one of the things when they did a tour there, they said they made sure they didn't take us to any area where you could potentially step on a landmine and kill yourself. And one of the things they mentioned, which I thought we went to a place where there were penguins. You know, you've seen pictures of penguins. We went there.
Yeah, penguins. I never see them.
Yeah, one of the things that the tour guide mentioned was the penguins are light enough that if they step on a landmine, it's not going to explode. They're not heavy enough to trigger it. So the penguins can run around anywhere they want.
That's crazy.
Without killing themselves. So that was in Falkland Islands. And then Ushuaia, which is in Patagonia, it is the southernmost city you can visit in South America. If you go past that city, you basically end up in Antarctica. So the cruise stopped there and then went back
the bottom of the wall, basically. You went to the bottom of the wall, basically.
Yep. Wow. And then while I was there in Buenos Aires, we took a flight over and went to Rio de Janeiro. I don't know if you're familiar with
Brazil,
Rio Carnival and stuff like that, and the beaches. Actually, if you follow James Bond, the James Bond movies, one of the movies were actually filmed down there.
Where they got a big statue, the big Jesus statue.
Yeah, the statue of Jesus is Christ the Redeemer.
Yep. And
it overlooks Buenos Aires, and his arms are stretched out, and he faces
covering the city, blessing them. We should build one of the here. Talk about a cruise.
And then the last one, Africa. So basically, if you look at that list, I've been to every continent on the planet: Europe, Africa, Asia, North and South America, and Australia, which is Oceania, and then Antarctica. So all 7. I've been to visit all 7. And places in between, of course.
Nice. So basically, the point you're trying to bring home here is, if you was working a 9-to-5 job, you'd never be able to do all of this.
Well, while I was working a 9-to-5, I squeezed a few in. More so, once I left in 2015, then I really ramped up the travel. Because I didn't have a job to report to. I didn't have to call my boss and say, sorry, I can't come in today, or I'm sick today, or none of that. I did that 27 years of it, and that was enough.
Yeah, because sometimes you're working and you go on vacation, then the last day, you're stressed because you got to catch this flight. You got to make it to work tomorrow. Yeah. Like I say, live life just... Like I just say, I dance to the beat of my own drum, So it's like you don't gotta, nobody stressing you, nobody on your back, and you don't got no quota, no report you gotta hand in at the end of the month, and all these things. Yeah. I totally agree. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to say on this, or if you want to move on.
Well, this slide that you have up there now, the previous one was a lot of land visits. It combined some of the travel, some of the cruise part, but this one here in particular, the very first cruise I did was in 2011 out of Barcelona, which is where I'm heading to on Thursday, by the way. So, as you can see, I did cruises in the Mediterranean. I did cruises in the Caribbean, East and West. I did cruises not just in the Mediterranean, but also in the Baltic. And if you're not familiar with the Baltics is where Copenhagen is located. That's also where Stockholm is located. St. Petersburg, Russia is located there. Helsinki, Poland, those countries, they're all in the Baltic area. So I did a cruise in there. Also did a cruise up along Norway, up to see the fjords. And then, as I mentioned, New Zealand and Australia, did a cruise from over in Oceania. And then the Asia cruise, Hong Kong to Tokyo, the South America one, and then the Africa cruise. That was combined in the same year, 2011, where I went to Tunisia. And then when I was vacationing in southern Spain, I took a trip over to Morocco, to the city of Tangiers in Morocco. So I haven't done much traveling in Africa, just those two, and there was in North Africa, Tunisia and Morocco.
I
And
I want to go Africa. I want to go different places. I say I want to go Ghana. Actually, I have a friend from over there. Pick up his side. But yeah, I feel you. I feel you. That sound good, man. That sound good. You never been Madagascar?
no, that's in Southeast Africa. No, I haven't been to Madagascar.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I
I haven't
think.
been everywhere, so there's still a lot of places to
well,
explore.
well, just you won't far from everywhere, though. I go leave us a good podcast with informative points. I like the references and breakdown of terminology. You're welcome. Yeah, big up my sister there one time. Yeah. Big up Olivia Williams in the chat. Yeah. So yeah, like she said, informative points. Now we're going into the information really. We're going into the tips.
Okay, so well, all throughout this discussion, as you can see, I started early. So you start early investing, and you invest for the long term. When I started in 1988 with the bank, remember they said I signed these documents that in every month they would take money out of my account, and they bought TD shares, they they invested in their pension, and in the profit sharing. So back in '88, prior to starting at the bank, I didn't even know what trading was. I didn't have the only thing I had was a checking account and a savings account, and that they didn't have a lot of money in there. So
I know how that go.
The journey starts early. If you can start early, and by the way, there's a saying that goes something like, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today.
And you're talking like a farmer. You're talking like a farmer.
But that's what it is. The best time to start investing was 20 years ago. I started 37 years ago. And then the next best time is right now. Because
today, start the investment.
Whether you start then or you start now, time is going to pass. You can't stop time. You can't slow it down. It's going to pass. So why not start when you need to start, which is immediately. So as the slide says here, the earlier you start, the more money will grow. So you're investing for 10 years, 20 years, 15, 20, even 30 years in the future. You're not doing it, well, as you're familiar with. If you plant a mango tree, you can't expect mangoes the next year. You have to wait a certain amount of time before you get mango.
Facts.
That's what I did. I bought these ETFs, and now they're producing my mangoes every month, my dividends every month.
Thank you. You plant that seed,
yeah,
and you make sure you keep maintaining it, watering it, and now you reaping the harvest.
Precisely.
You're eating the fruits of your labor. Yeah.
The other good thing this does is it allows you to develop good money habit. And, you're going to make mistakes. You don't try and not make mistakes. You will make mistakes, but the trick is to learn from those mistakes and do better next time. Right? Yep. You can't avoid making mistakes. We're all human. You're going to make mistakes, but don't just say, and then learn from it. That's what I did. Like, remember that one stock I bought where when the red flag showed up that they were lowering the dividend, I got out. I took a hit. But next time around, I learned, okay, not to do this, not to do that, do this instead. So that's what this slide is teaching you. So you start early, you invest for the long term, and along the way, you learn from your mistakes and do better next time.
Start early.
The next one.
Invest for the long term. Agreed. Next slide.
Yeah, and this slide also follows my lifestyle, because remember I said when I started in 88, the bank invested me in these positions, and the money came out of my account automatically. I didn't have to say, well, take this money out and put it. No. Every single month, religiously, the money came out and it went into these different aspects. the pension, the buying TD shares, which then reinvested, etc. So that was automated. That is, if you can automate your investment, that is key to seeing the snowball effect, the compounding, if you will. So once you decide, and nowadays, the beauty of it nowadays, investing in the stock market. When I started back in '88, and I don't remember what year they ended it, but you could buy what I call a board lot. A board lot is 100 shares of a particular company. So you either bought a board lot, minimum. You either did that or you didn't buy at all. If you buy less, they charge you way more than if you were to buy a board lot. Today, if you have $10, you can invest it in the stock market. They do what they call now or partial shares. So you don't even have to buy one full share of a company. You can buy 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1 of a company. They allow you to do that nowadays. So somewhere along the line, they decided, well, it'll be better for people if they can invest in it. So they made it more and more and more affordable for people to invest. But again, going back to this slide, when you automate it, you won't feel the pain of it because every month you're going to buy a little bit, and then 20 years later, 30 years later, you're going to see the benefit of it. So we go to the next one. As I commented, every little bit matters now. So you don't have to wait until you get $1,000 to invest. No, if you have $10, $25, whatever, you stick it in there, you'll see the effect of it growing every single month. If you can start with the minimum amount, perfect. If you can't, start with something less. But the point is to start. Don't wait until on some future time. One of the things that Warren Buffett says, or I heard him comment on, he said, it's best to be, or don't try to time the market. It's best to be in the market. So instead of waiting and say, okay, well, I'm going to wait until the stock goes down to $10 if it's trading at $20. No, jump in then. Because the longer you wait, what if the stock goes up to $25 and it continues to go up? You're waiting for it to go down to 10. You'll never get in. Get in right away. And then slowly build up. So timing the market is not as important as time in the market.
I like that one.
Right.
And I like that one. Timing the market is not as important as time in the market. I like that one. I like those type of wordplay, witty type of lines. Yeah. But I agree with you totally. Like I said just now, I started my dividend investing journey January. So this January 2025, I started diligently. So I made intentionally say to myself, okay, I can start investing in these dividend investments with the purpose of gaining returns and gaining dividend payouts. Right now, not receiving payouts, it's reinvesting, but eventually I would be able to live like this as well.
Yep.
Check, you got to start somewhere.
Not rocket science.
I started with $14 and change. Yep. Some brokers, the minimum is like $25, but a lot of them now, whatever you put on, $5, you could put on $1.
Yeah.
So get started. That's whatever amount. Don't say, but yeah, again, save these couple $100 or this $1,000, then I'll take that and put it, and then I'll get a good, nice position. No, start now. And then
the last slide, important about to invest. If you want to try and minimize mistakes. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. I have all my eggs in that TD Bank stock, but then TD Bank has been around for 160 years. Not that it can't fail. That's, that'd be crazy to think otherwise. But
I
for the
just, I
time being, I
just,
have it.
I just want to chime in there, please. Hold your last thought, but I just want to point out this comment that was sent in the chat from my cousin. Big up yourself one time, Fredo, one time. You see, say I gotta put this in practice self. You know, see, people understand the value because we all want to see better for ourselves. We want to live a better life. We want to give our children a better life, and these are the ways to escape the rat race, you see? So, like you say, important tips to invest in safe. It started with diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And that's where if you buy an ETF, you're already diversified. Because you can buy an ETF that holds all of the stocks on the S&P 500. That's 500 stocks in one ETF.
Yep.
But for me, I like the monthly income. So the ETFs I have generate a monthly dividend.
So let me say on that point too, like you say that the diversification really does protect you. And I could say that from personal experience because let me say like earlier in this year when they had the tariff wars and thing going on, especially when it had just started, like Liberation Day specifically, when Trump come out with this big list, say, yeah, are you getting this tariff? The stock market dropped crazy, like plummeted, like phew. And I could say it showed me the benefit of the diversification and having these dividend paying ETFs because for the whole duration, for like you say, religiously, like what you say about TD Bank, they never stop paying religiously every month, whether stock market were up, stock market were down, Trump come out, say some stupidness and everything in a tailspin, whether or not, every month faithfully I get my dividend payout.
Yep.
You check? And
same here.
What was the best part too is while other stocks plummeting, going horribly, tanking, my ETFs them, they went down. I'll be honest, but by like $1. So like one of them I buy originally when it was like $18 and change a share, and it maybe went down to like the lowest 1680 or something like that, 16 and change. And rightfully that's an opportunity because at that point I could buy more now, and now I bring down my average, and now I looking better when they go back up, but same thing, like QILD same ways went down about $2 too, about from 18 and change to that one was 21 and it went down to about 20. Yeah, so like how you say, when you diversify, it really protects you. And like if I had maybe Nvidia at that time, or Meta, or let me say any individual stock, all of them tank. So if I had put $100 like right before Liberation Day in Nvidia, my $100 would have dropped to maybe like 50, maybe 40 something. And then I'd be like, wow, what the hell is this? But somebody in that situation might have say, oh my God, and then go sell. But then now is when you educate yourself, like we say, when you know what's going on, you can just wait it out, because look now, Nvidia surpassed where it was. And your $100 right now would have been maybe 200. Check. So just to show you how the game to go, how the market is, and how you gotta understand how to move and navigate it. But yeah, continue. Sorry for
So no, that's okay. So the next line down says buy blue chip. That's what I started out doing in 2015, because I figure But if I buy blue chip, that's going to sort of protect me somewhat from the ups and downs that you just mentioned in the stock market. And to some extent, yes, it does when you buy blue chip, because a blue chip company, they pay dividend when they're more stable. Like when they're just growing and stuff, they don't pay any dividend. Like that's what happened with Microsoft. Early on, if you bought Microsoft, they never paid a dividend. Now they started paying a dividend because the company it's more mature, they're more stable. So now they're paying a dividend. So they, and if they continue paying a dividend and increasing it, they're gonna fall under that category of blue chip. So a blue chip company would
like
be
a big
somewhat
company.
It's a big company but stable. So like the Canadian railway companies, CN and CP, in the US, Amtrak, GE, any of the big telecommunication companies, AT&T, whatever. So
like
there's a whole lot of
Verizon
them
and
in a lot of different industries that are considered blue chip. They pay a dividend. Coca-Cola, for example, that's a blue chip company. Pepsi, another one, blue chip.
like big stable companies, basically.
Yes,
Basically,
yes,
you're trying
yes.
to say, don't go put your money in these penny stocks and these startups that very risky. Basically, you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like look for something that more stable, more
Right.
have already a track record.
Exactly. And then, so if you can't do blue chip, consider index funds, which is like the ETFs that I mentioned. Those invest in different areas. So you can do ones that invest in science and technology. You can do ones that invest in mining stocks. You can do ones that invest in REITs, which is real estate investment trusts. You can do ones that invest in bonds, ones that invest in gold, ones that invest in pharmaceutical. There are thousands and thousands of ETF all investing in different things. It's a matter of picking the one that fits with your profile, your lifestyle, and taking it from there. And then the last line there, pay attention to fees and commissions. Remember I talked about the fees for the financial planner? Every
from
month,
your boy.
religiously, he took his fees. Didn't matter if my account was sucking dirt. He got his
From
fees.
piggyback boy.
So that's why I commented that, it was like he was using my portfolio like his personal piggy bank. Because he never missed a fee. Every single month he got, I don't know how much, I forgot now how much, like for the year, like $3,000 in fees or something high. The other thing too is commissions. If you're buying and selling stocks, you have to pay a commission. Well, with me, when I buy and sell, every time I buy or sell, I pay $9, almost $10 in commission. So the more trades I do, the more commissions I pay. The only time you don't pay a commission is when you do the dividend reinvestment. So if you have dividend reinvestment set up, you don't pay a commission. They automatically reinvest the amount into buying more of the same, whether it's a stock or whatever. So those are some tips when you start your investing journey. And that's it pretty much for me.
Yeah.
If anybody have questions or...
On that point that you mentioned there with the fees and commission, for sure it's something to look out for. But at least I could say a lot of these newer brokers don't really have the fees and things like that. Like that's one thing Robinhood actually is very popular because they don't have like those fees and commissions like those other big brokers. But like how you said, some brokerages too, like if you trading and like buying and like day trading and buying and selling stocks and shares and things like that, they would sometimes add their commission into the like take it out from the profits one time, like we still like that. So different scenarios, different situations, you just gotta know what you're getting yourself into. So I know this is the last slide. The next slide is just like a thanks and thing, but I have like 2 or 3 questions I do want to shoot to you. If anybody who watching have any questions, type it in the chat and You'll get your question asked and answered here. But if you don't want to do that, you could always feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, like the slide says. But yeah, so getting to the questions, my first question I'll ask you is, so you don't manage your portfolio every day? Like you just go and this is your DIY job every day?
I look at it every day, but it's not necessary.
Okay, elaborate.
So the dividends, my account, my all of those accounts that I mentioned before, something unusual happened this particular month, August. All of my dividend in all of my portfolios were paid on August the 8th. September now, the end of October, they start sending out communication saying when they're going to be paying the dividends. So next month, the dividends are going to be paid the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Okay.
So on the 8th, when I go in, the money will be sitting in my account. I can just transfer it from my Canadian cash account over to my checking account and start paying my bills, whatever bills I have. If I'm going to do reinvestments, I'll wait until the 10th, because then all of the money will be in. I'm not expecting any dividend beyond that point in time. So then that's when I would then start reinvesting. So in terms of when I have to look at my account, it would be around the time when I start getting paid dividends. The other thing I have in my account too, and it pays me an interest because it's sitting in like a cash account that's tied directly to the interest rate. So at the end of the month, it pays whatever the dollar amount is in there. It pays me, it's like a checking account that pays your interest for having a checking account, something similar. So end of the month, I would go in and I look at that. The other thing too, my TD pension comes in the first of the month. My Canada pension comes in near the end of the month, like 3 days before the end of the month. So the times when I must go in and look would be those times. The rest of the time, I don't really have to, but I just do it because.
So basically, you just say around bill time is really when you just have to work, and your work is going into your account and allocating funds. That's basically that's what you just say. And so basically, you're saying.
That's my job now.
Just sitting down and allocating funds. So basically, like an hour for your day, 2 hours, maybe you sit down behind a computer, you say, okay, this money coming from here, let me put it there. That's basically. And like you say, once you do that, once all your bills paid, the rest of the month, you could do whatever you want. You're free to do whatever you want.
So whether I'm traveling or not, like when I'll be in Spain, when the money comes into my account, well, I do everything online, pay my bills, I move money around, whatever. It's no big deal to do it then. I can do it anywhere in the world that have an internet connection. Whether I'm on a cruise ship or I'm on a hotel somewhere or traveling in Europe, in the Netherlands, they have Wi-Fi on the trains. I could do my trading and selling and buying and pay my bills while I'm on the train traveling between cities. Porter Airlines, a Canadian airline, when I was flying to Vegas, on Porter Airline, they give free internet. So I had free Wi-Fi while I was flying from Toronto to Vegas. So I went into my account, I looked at the stock market, blah, blah, blah. So basically, I can do what I'm doing from anywhere on the planet that has internet.
I like that because even for me, like with my trading and thing, I just sometimes be on the road with my phone, and all of that is why I had to get I end up changing my number. I had to get a good internet phone service plan because I need to be connected wherever I be. And if I want, let me say I put in a trade and I want to check it, or maybe something change and I check it and I need to get out of that. I need connection. you know, and that's the power of today. Like you say, back in the days, you used to have to take a bushel and that kind of thing. Now, technology has brought things so far. You could invest down to cents from right off your phone, wherever you be, once you have internet. You know, that's the power of investing in 2025. A matter of fact, with AI now, oh God, don't even talk about that. But one next question I wanted to ask you, or I want you to touch on, is like how you talk about, you know, dealing with the banks and dealing with the investment and thing. Like how you mentioned, basically the Canadian banks support investing. I mentioned that because down here in St. Martin is very hard to invest. Let me just say it's not impossible. I just do it. So let me just say for anybody listening, it's not impossible. But there are significant restrictions on investing and getting into stocks and these things here in St. Martin, because most of the banking and financial institutions view it as high risk, you know, so they rather deny you entry. Let me say like that. They rather stop you from getting into it because they're checking it risky, so they rather you not do it. But to my understanding, you mentioned like up there in Canada, it's linked. It's like through your bank account, you have like a trading or investment account that's linked. You could send your money direct one time and be able to invest in whatever you are investing in the split second, right? From my understanding. So basically, my question is, you mentioned how the Canadian bank system is in regards to the investing, and I would like for you to elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay. Early on in the banking system here in Canada, they refer to it as silos. So if you had a checking account, you went to your branch, you did everything to do with checking and savings and all that stuff. If you had a brokerage account, you do everything with your brokerage. You had an insurance, you did everything with insurance. So they each one dealt with customers relating directly to them. They realized that that's not how people bank. People have, like for me personally, I have insurance, I have my trading, I have my checking and savings, I have other things. So people don't bank in silos. They bank across the bank. So with TD, they decided, and that was something I supported. They actually pulled me in with the other department I was in. They looked around the bank and they pulled a bunch of people in to create what they call cross banking rather than silo. So with my account, I have an app on my phone. I can do everything, all of my banking through that app. There's an app for insurance. There's an app for other things. But with my checking and my trading, they're linked. So I can move money from my checking account to my trading account or vice versa. And, it's just a matter of transfer funds from here to there. Same thing with my RSP and my TFSA. When it comes time in January 1, the CRA says you're allowed to put, in the case of January 1, 2025, they said to all the Canadians, you're allowed to put $7,000 into your TFSA. All I did was went in my account, my checking account. I transferred $7,000 over. I went into my TFSA and I allocated the funds where I wanted the money to go. So everything is linked that way rather than in silos.
Separate, yeah. And I like that because, like I said, down here, you have a high level of restriction and difficulty. Let me just put it like that. But for me, how I look at things always, when there's a will, there's a way. And I can always make a way. I ain't gonna need nobody stop me. But even like how you say what you say, I recall hearing this advertisement from Schwab. I mentioned Charles Schwab Network in one of my previous episodes, but they have a ad that they talk about that. They talk about how, like, I remember, like you just said that, hearing them say, like, yeah, money move from your checking to your investing account is available within seconds. And, like, they show you, like, the ease of things. And down here, for me, I ain't gonna lie, it'll be a level of difficulty because I gotta send it here and then send it there, and then they taking fees there, and then they take bank taking fees there, you know. So even like when you talk about automating, I totally agree with that. Automating things is a lot easier, but then not impossible. But like I said, they do have a added level of difficulty for us here in like these regions and missing like that, you know.
But you see, here in Canada, it wasn't always that way. When I started in '88 with the bank, to do trading was difficult. Like they had a specific app they used for trading, and it wasn't linked to anything. So if you wanted to put money in, you had to call them up and ask them to transfer money from here to. You couldn't do it yourself, basically. But over time, and with here in Canada, the banking regulation is very strict, but they're easing it and making it more flexible for Canadians to be able to do their things they want to do with their banking. And I guess in time, maybe they'll do the same thing in St. Martin, because like the stock market, if you don't know what you're doing in the stock market, you will lose your money, guaranteed.
I could agree on that.
So that's the fear they have in St. Martin. It's almost like going to the casino, taking your money, putting it down, and say, "Oh, I hope I win." Well, they're going to take your money.
Yeah, the host always wins.
Yeah, but with knowledge, you know.
Oh.
So if they started this financial literacy thing in schools there, so the children, the next generation or the younger kids, by the time they get to in their 20s and whatever, they have an understanding of checking, savings, credit, stuff like that. They understand. If they don't understand that, then yes, you will lose your money. So that's why they restrict it from people doing it, because instead of educating people, it's easier for them to restrict it, because then they're not responsible for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because then if anything happened, you can say, "But you make me go and do this."
Yeah. You
so
can't blame them for anything, because they said. So in your case, like how you're going around the system, if anything happens, you can't go back and say, "Well, I lost my," they're going to say, "Well, we restricted it for a reason. You bypassed the restrictions. It's your responsibility."
They say prevention is better than cure, but I ain't gonna lie, like I say, it's doable, because even when I was investing in like crypto, Bitcoin and thing a couple years ago, shortly after I just come back, I would have to call the bank, so I could use my bank card and make the transaction to purchase the crypto, but I would have to like call the bank and tell them, because the first few times it would like flag it and deny the transaction. So I gotta call and be them know, like, yeah, it's me doing it and it's legit, and they'll tell you, yeah, getting into stocks is risky, you're sure you want to do that, and I check it, hey, look, it's my money and I want it now. And end up going through, but yeah, so it's possible, but just an added level of difficulty. But I would say, I hope, like you say, it does reach to a point that it's a little more smoother, because for me, I like smooth processes, streamline, and things difficult right now. One thing I'll say on that point, I see an article talking about like St. Martin situation with like blacklisting and thing, whereas they're trying to work on it, which I feel they should. I agree with that motive, but yeah, all these things is things that tie into all these things, because they look at St. Martin like we can just lose all the money. They look at St. Martin like people that come landed the money, all kind of nonsense. We here in St. Martin, we's good people, righteous people, and we doing righteous things. Yeah. But yeah, I have one more question. I was thinking if I should ask it, but let me ask it. Yeah, so my last question, final question is, I would like you to just talk about taxes a little bit, best practices and, a little bit, just touch on taxes a little bit, like how we talk about all this money business.
That's a huge kettle of worms. I could
Like,
talk
okay,
about it
let me
from
say like
my
this.
perspective.
Yeah, from your perspective, but let me kind of narrow it down a little bit. So let me say on a year-to-year basis, or using last year as an example, was your process for dealing with your taxes given this journey you're on? Like you mentioned, you bring in some good penny, like you say, not a 16 a month. That's good money. So I know the tax man gotta be right there behind you.
Well, um, I need to. That's what all of my 4 portfolio accounts generate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned you
Remember
have
the
some that
TFSA
not
and the
tax. Yeah,
RSP?
yeah, yeah.
Those two are registered.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
don't
So
take
you
any money
don't.
out of those. And
Yeah,
with the TFSA, any money that goes in, anything that gets generated in that account and you pull it out, it's tax free. That's why it's called tax free saving account. So if I have a whatever amount in there and I take all of it out, I pay no tax on it. That's
great.
the current regulation that's in
Structure.
place.
Yeah.
With the RSP, Registered Retirement Savings, the money goes in, you generate your income and reinvest it and reinvest it. At age 71, the government says it's time to convert this account into what is called a RIF, and that is a retirement income fund. The minute you convert it into that account, you must pull money out. The minute you pull money out, you get taxed immediately. The bank holds back a certain portion, sends it to the government. The balance that you take out, when you file your income tax the following year, and here in Canada, tax season is April up until the end of April. If you go beyond that, you owe any money, you have to pay a fee, a penalty, not a fee, a penalty. And it's
Yeah.
steep, 1% on the balance of whatever it is you owe them per month. So at age 72, you're registered, actually your account that gets converted, and then you have to start pulling the money out. The money you pull out is considered income, and it's taxed at the highest rate. But all those things, you get a special document that you can file with your income tax. I have an accountant that handles all of my taxes. I just have to make sure I keep accurate records of everything I'm doing during the year with the 2 accounts that are not registered. And also with my pension, the TD pension, the Canada pension, soon the old age. So I get tax documents that I file with my income tax. So I give them all to the accountant. He asks me a bunch of questions. I answer all of it. And then he files my taxes with the Canadian government. And then based on the calculations, he says to me, oh, you owe this much money to the government based on your income from last year. It's up to you how you handle it. You can contact the revenue agency and say, I want to make installment payments. You pay all of it at once, whatever. It's up to you, but you have to pay it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair, and especially comes a lot easier when you have an accountant.
Oh, the accountant knows all. Not that he knows all. Well, he definitely knows all the tips and tricks. The guy I have, he's had 35 years of tax experience. When I'm talking with him, he actually signs into he has a special way of signing into the Revenue Canada website and looking at the stuff I'm telling him. He can confirm that what documents the government already have on me. So I can't fake it. and then when he files it, it goes in electronically. Immediately, they have all of the stuff. So what I do is I go to my account and I send the money. If he says, this is how much you owe, I send that amount to them.
Yeah, just one
I
lump sum,
don't
one time.
wait and all that stuff. As soon as he finishes with me, I log into my checking account and I send the money to the revenue agency.
Sounds good.
Now, with other people that have businesses and all that stuff, that gets way more complicated because the accountant would know, well, if you can write off this, you can write off that. Do you use your car? For example, if you use your car for like Uber, you're treating it as a business, so you can probably write off a portion of the depreciation. All of these little quirks and things like that. If you don't have an accountant who can tell you like all the little nitty gritty stuff like that, you lose. One of the things the Canadian government will always do, if you overpay them, fine.
They ain't giving you back no money.
Underpay them. The minute you don't pay enough, you run into trouble. They won't correct you if you make a mistake and give them too much, but they will get on your back if you don't pay them enough.
Yeah. I agree with you. So, if you're underpaid,
that's why I give to the accountant.
Right, you're right. If you're underpaid and looking for
but all of the tax breaks and all that stuff, they're there for anyone.
Yeah,
it's right. And so people that are multi-billionaires and multi-billionaires, they have a team of tax experts that are looking for little loopholes here and there where they can save on taxes or not pay as much taxes. But our accountants can do that for you. Yeah. If you were to do it yourself, I don't know if you would even be able to. I don't know what it is in Canada, but I heard in the US the tax code is like 1,000 pages or 10,000 pages, which means you'd have to read through all of that to find all the little loopholes in order to be able to figure out your taxes if you have a business. So
I do a lot of reading, but 10,000 pages, Jesus.
Yeah, the tax, it's ridiculously complicated. That's why the
I have to listen to that as an audio book because wow, 10,000 pages.
I don't know what the Canadian one is. I haven't looked at it. I looked at like bits and pieces of it, but it's just so convoluted and complex and all that stuff because even with the dividend, a company pays tax to the government, but when they pay you a dividend, if the government was to then tax you on that dividend, then it's called double taxation. The company paid tax, and then you're paying tax on the same amount. So they have a formula that they use, and what they call is they mark it up. So they have a formula they use to multiply whatever the amount is for dividend. They mark it up to a higher amount, and then they use some deduction to calculate how much they can take out of that before that goes here. It's just
complication.
Yeah,
complication for no reason. Yeah,
dividend payments and capital gain payments are different animals. They're treated different for tax reasons.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing in some research I do, when you make capital gains, let me say you invest in something and it gone up and you sell, you checking you and get some profits. Hey, tax man on you for that man. You gotta make sure you know what you're doing. So all of this is education. You gotta know, and this is what this is all about.
It comes down to that.
I am not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advisor or financial planner. No, we just here to show you, give you some education, give you some knowledge, show you the way, show you how we do it, share real stories so you could understand how we reach where we is, so you could get an idea of what you could do, how you could take your road, So I don't know if you had anything else to say, but I gotta tell you thanks. I gotta tell you thank you from now.
My pleasure.
If you have any other point, this is the time.
Well, the other animals would be credit. Credit is another whole.
Yeah, we're gonna have to save that for another episode.
Sure. Yeah.
No, but remember today we're talking all about dividends. So that was the meat of the matter. Today we gave steak, potatoes, asparagus, broccoli, nice mushroom sauce, a nice meal you get here today, man. You can't complain. Yeah, you get a nice, good sustenance.
And it's from someone you know. So it's not like some stranger that says, you know, can you
Yeah,
trust him
yeah.
to that what he's telling you is true?
Telling you,
I'm living proof of what
that it's
is possible.
working, that
Yeah,
this is working. This ain't
yeah.
just some random
No, no.
person I find online and say, yeah, come on my podcast. No, I start somebody I know, somebody that you could consider just like you. You hear? He was working in a bank, doing a little investment. He checking, you know what? Me do it myself. Yeah, I been believer in that. Like my father would say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Yeah. And financial planner wasn't cutting it, so do it
Not
yourself.
for me.
And
For others, yes.
for sure. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. And yeah, just that's a blessing. That story you shared there today is a real inspiration, and I really hope the viewers that see this and going to see this felt inspired and motivated. Like I say, one of my cousins say, I gotta put this in practice self. Yeah. Big up yourself one time, Nate. Yeah. But yeah, this here is to help you grow mentally, financially, and just feel better, feel positive, more positive. Because let's be honest, when you're making money, when your pocket's right, when your account right, you feel good. You feel like a man. Yeah, of course, all of our seniors said, do it yourself all time. Well, look, like I said, I believe in that. If you want it done right, you gotta do it yourself. But you don't have to trust in your team. You see, my uncle trusting in the accountant because he know he accountant know what he doing in that regard. When you got good people around you, you could trust that you could delegate things and you can get handled well. But anyway, like I say, I thank you very much for coming on and accepting to be interviewed on the first interview of All Over It podcast. I about to start wrapping up, and I don't know if you want to stay here for it, but you're welcome to. But yeah, I hope today's episode was meat and potatoes for you. I sure it was. I know I eat my brains eat today, you know? And yeah, like I say, real stories from real people, real people that do real things, and this is a real thing he do. He say he doing it himself, and look where he reach. Man, them numbers he call. Ah, yeah. But I feel good that I start my journey, so I feel like soon I could see that man. Yeah. That good look no. That good look there now, uncle. I tell you, but yeah, really happy. Like I say, I thank you for coming on. And like I say, I assume everybody could see the excitement. And I really appreciate it. We
My
making
pleasure.
moves, we making strides, and we elevating, we growing. Like both of us say today, you gotta plant that seed. You can start small. A seed does be small like this. But then when you see the tree that come out of it, it shock you. When you see the tree, 2-3 stories tall, it's like, what? Where that come from, boy? How that come so? How that come out of that little thing? You know? You see, all of us see ya. Me and him is the best. I gotta hide that one quick before other people see it. No, but yeah, like I say, thank you very much for joining. Oh God, look, no, before you go, I just have to say this while I hear. I just received a notification on my phone say QYLD dividend payments received. Good. While we here, money is making. We here talking about dividends. QYLD just pay me my dividends. Okay, good. Man, rightfully, I had said I was like open up my Robin Hood and show my side of things, but I said no, man. Today's about you, and like I said, I appreciate it because I'll say you did a good job. I showed the people really enjoyed, and I sure they find something in there that could resonate with them, and yeah, like I always say, all over it podcast, episode 17, we uncovering it all. Episode 17, we talk about dividends. Man, we talk about dividends today. Yeah. Today was a good time. But yeah, we growing, we elevating, and all them other adjectives and adverbs, we reaching the top. Yeah, we reaching Mount Everest just now. And whatever is the highest peak in your mind, we gonna reach it together. Check. And yeah, like I say, we here every week. Catch me next week, Monday. And leave it as a surprise. But just know, every Monday we here all over it podcast. Today's episode 17, talking about dividends. And I hope each and all of you have a blessed night forward and a prosperous week ahead. Love alone. Blessings. See you later, Uncle. Thanks for joining. See you later. Have a blessed one. Back to the tunes, them. See you.